from SCNR, nearly 2/3 of voters believe cheating will occur in the 2024 election. More than a quarter admit they would consider engaging in illegal voting to help their preferred presidential candidate. Wow. Okay, I mean, that's the news, right? What would you call it if a quarter of the nation is openly saying that they will or want to cheat to win power? Is that just the way things are?
It's in a sad state of affairs. That's criminal actions there. And also 2/3, that's they'll say that Republicans have believe this, quote unquote brainwashed lie. But 2/3 is well more than just Republicans that think that we don't have fair and free elections. Right. So the party of democracy really needs to step up on securing this election here. I mean, come on.
Well, the Democrats make this claim. It's the weirdest thing, too. Like when I'm talking to like a liberal family member, and they say, yeah, well, Republicans are just trying to stop people from voting. And I go, who? And they're like, well, they're trying to get people off the voter rolls. And I was like,
dead people? What are you talking about?
Who are they getting off the voter rolls? It's like, well, they go through and they remove names. And I'm like, can't you just go and register to vote? Like, shouldn't you just check your registration periodically?
Let me say this. They try to say it's difficult to vote. I turned 18 2.5 weeks ago, and I registered on my 18th birthday. I timed it. 1 minute and 42 seconds.
Yeah, it's not.
1 minute and 42. Yeah, and also, there was just one box to check if I was a U.S. citizen. No proof that I was a U.S. citizen. They didn't ask for birth certificate, anything. I literally checked the box. So that needs to be addressed. But also, 1 minute and 42 seconds. They're always like, oh, it's so difficult. They're trying to make it so hard. No.
It wasn't hard when I registered in whatever it was, 1993.
Yeah.
They registered for me, and then I got jury duty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I got my ID, it just registered me.
Oh, wow.
I guess it's like on the form or something. It's like when you're getting your license, it's like you're registered now.
You can register at the DMV in a lot of states.
Don't you guys have to register for selective service, too?
Yes, I had to do that, too. It's the whole form. So, which, again, this is a cool story. I was back home for a night or two, and it was around my birthday. I had a birthday party. I was sitting there registering to vote, and one of my friends had turned 18 around the same time. And you could tell the wheels were turning in his head. He goes, wait, I have to do selective service too, right? And this is a guy that is not the biggest Trump supporter. I'll just say that. And I was like, yeah, you actually have to, like, I'll send you the link. Like, it's pretty simple, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I could actually serve on the front lines. So I was like, I mean, that's what that means. He was like, no, like, Biden. Like, if anybody were to send me on the front lines, it would be him. And I was like, you have a good point. So again, this is somebody that his whole life is football. He plays Fortnite every night. Like, he's not focused. Yeah, but it clicked.
Like,
I didn't have to tell him.
the war guy.
Yeah, and he was like, he's the war guy.
Yeah, but come on, like, deep down, we're all excited to see Harry Sisson on the front line.
Oh, my goodness.
He would be doing amazing propaganda.
Maybe that was part of his agreement. Maybe it was if he tweets this entire time, they put him,
People of privilege sometimes get to go to do special positions.
It's going to be Tom Cruise and Edge of Tomorrow. He's going to be like, look, I'm just an Instagram guy. And they're like, that's why we need you on the front line.
He's a press pass.
We need you on the front line to sell this war to the American people because they trust you. And he's going to be like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he'd be happy to serve under, President Kamala Harris. He's a huge fan, I've heard.
It took him 7 minutes to endorse her, to turn his back on Biden. 7 minutes. He put out one post and was like, Biden's the defender of democracy. And then the next post, he was like, all hell Kamala Harris. 7 minutes. So the check hit very fast from the Kamala Harris for president campaign.
Yeah.
What a grifter.
Really?
I have to just believe that Gen Z doesn't care at all. Of course, there's a handful of people. You're here, obviously. You wrote a book, even, and you seem to know a lot about what's going on. You're very active. But most Gen Z is probably just like, huh?
I agree with you to an extent, but I would say this. Unfortunately, we're being forced to care. Like, we're being thrown into this thing of we're trying to stay apolitical and we're trying to stay away from it. And it keeps hitting us, whether it's the pocketbooks or, like, in life, or realizing, like, hey, next year I could be, serving on the front lines of war. It's really forcing us to say, even if you don't support either side, at least pay attention. And I think we're seeing that. That's why we're seeing so many young people register to vote, which is going to be a major shift this time. Like 53% of registered voters as of last week are Gen Z or millennials. That has
and unregistered voters skew Trump, Republican.
Yes, big time.
I was just going to say, when I was 18, the only things I cared about were art and parties.
No, I was voting.
I voted for, like, in the whatever it was, but
I voted for Obama. So
I voted for Bill Clinton. So
I wasn't old enough to vote for Bill Clinton, but I remember when I was little, they had us do a mock poll of like when I was in grade school.
Yeah.
They were, and it's really about they're doing the poll to see what your parents influencing on you. Yes. But I remember, I think I don't know how old I must have been 20. I voted for Obama, and I was like, well, I hope he ends the wars. Beep. And then as soon as he gets elected, he's like, I'm gonna go blow up kids, and I was like, crap.
I remember being totally committed to be like, my first vote's going to be for a libertarian president. Ooh. That was not the case. The thing is, I think you're touching on something that's really important, which is like young people are kind of forced to pay attention. in part, I think because our media has realized how fear-mongering people and scaring them about politics all the time, keeping that like anxious attention is working for their bottom line. But I also think that like this is a different culture. I think our culture is much more politically oriented than generations past, to our detriment. Like Libby is saying, when she was young, she was focused on art and parties, but that's kind of cool,
That's
right?
normal,
Like
yeah.
you were
There's nothing
supposed to
wrong
have
with that.
life outside. I mean, maybe not you. You've picked a path, but like it is good to have institutions of culture that people are passionate about, that they want to pour into, so we have a vibrant culture in this country. If it has to be constantly fighting over like, please don't send me to war, please let me, you know, be able to have a secure financial future, then of course you have to kind of fall in line on these party politics, at least in the American system as is.
No, my friend shouldn't have to be stressing about serving on the front lines next year instead of going off to college, which is just a crazy concept to fret over. To your point about the mock elections, that was actually what got me interested in politics. So the clip that I love, and I know it's one of your favorites, is when Trump and Hillary were debating. I was 11 and happened to be walking through the living room at the same time when he said the line, "Well, you'd be in jail."
Yeah, amazing.
And I was like, oh, I love this. Like, this guy is not reading the consultant like memos. Like, this is real. This is genuine. Like, he's authentic. And so started paying attention. And I was SJ president of our lower school at the time, and we held a mock election in the library. And like Trump won wide margins against Alabama, who shocked. But I was like, this is so cool. Like they're like actually casting their vote. And so somehow that turned into this. But again, it's just young people paying attention. And it was a clip. I mean, that was a 15-second clip of Trump, but it brought me into a 7-year career.
Wow. Now, nobody trusts the election, and the expectation is just that it's going to be a bunch of cheaters cheating. So and we've been saying this for 3 years. We've been saying this since January 6th. What will happen after this election? Why would the Democrats or the Republicans accept the results? And assuming they don't, then what happens afterwards?
Great question that nobody's talking about because everybody's too afraid to.
And well, it's not just that. It's like, does anybody know?
Nobody
we don't.
knows.
We have no idea.
Well, it depends on I guess in part what the leaders do, right?
Well, we don't know who our leader is right
I mean,
now.
Kamala Harris, if if she's the one who loses out or whatever, she's the same one who said that the protesters should not stop and the rioting should not stop in 2020. She said that on late night TV. Trump has been looking incredibly presidential. I mean, in a way that he didn't even in 2020. He's maintained his calm. He's very cool and collected. It's been sort of impressive to watch that. So kind of depends, I think.
Yeah.
But I have no idea.
It's really hard to say, and I think that's one of the things that I feel wary about with speculating, because you don't want anyone to start to panic too early. I think there was
You don't want to panic too early.
There's plenty of time for panic. Don't worry about
Later.
it. But
Don't forget your towel.
The thing is, I really think that the DNC is in a certain amount of chaos, and I think that the next couple weeks leading up to this roll call will be fascinating. I suspect they'll be able to install Kamala Harris, but I don't think it will do them any favors with their party, with their members in Congress or anything else. So
BLM doesn't like it.
right,
Which is so interesting to me. That's like fascinating.
In the past couple of weeks, I agreed once
yeah.
with Taylor Lorenz and once with BLM. The world is over. It's
Was
all
it the
falling
Balloon
apart.
On article she
Yes.
wrote?
I think so, yeah.
No, but I mean, look what's going to happen to the DNC. The far left is going to lose it, and they're going to try and storm the gates, and they're going to attack the DNC.
To your point about the protest earlier and Kamala's quote, back in that election, our leader, our nominee got shot in the head, and we didn't have a single protest. Like, not a single one. Like,
Right,
we're
the ones, and they tell us that
We're the crazies.
we're going to go riot and blow things up, and we're just like,
He literally got
look
shot
at
in the
that.
head.
Let's
And
have
we
our
didn't do anything.
convention
We
and a
prayed.
proper nominating process.
And then yesterday in D.C., they rioted, stole a flag, and torched it and destroyed it.
On government property.
Right.
Didn't they raise Palestinian
Yes.
flags?
Yes.
In our nation's capital?
Yes.
And where's
On
our
government property.
police?
Yeah.
Pretty funded.
They were just hanging out.
There were a bunch of, the centrist Democrats, let's say, who joined to vote against or vote in favor of this resolution to condemn Biden and Harris for the border crisis. I mean, I think you're starting to see a fracturing in a way that they are not prepared to handle. Yes, there was an immediate coalesce around Kamala Harris, but long term, the party is forever damaged by, I would say the entire Biden administration, but definitely since January when he was like, I'm definitely running and everything's
It's a
fine.
cult, man. Let me tell you this. You had a primary. Ron DeSantis supporters were ripping apart Trump supporters. Haley's supporters were ripping apart DeSantis and Trump supporters. Vivek Ramaswamy had people who were very amicable and liked Donald Trump, but were hoping that Vivek could get in. You had DeSantis supporters on X saying, F you, Trump supporters, I will never vote for this man. And then a few weeks later being like, you've won. I admit it. I'm going to have to vote for this guy and I don't want to. And they're like, he's in a cult. And I'm like, the dude hates Trump.
Yeah.
He
What are you talking
just,
about?
you're a cult. And you are marching in lockstep on authoritarians who have now put in Kamala Harris without a single person voting for her. And this guy's like, ugh, well, I don't like Trump, but at least people voted for him. And you're like, he's in a cult. This is what we're up against right now in this country in our election.
Cult behavior was that 12-hour period where every single Democrat somehow got behind her that quickly.
So fast.
Easy.
And then started making stuff up about how she was the grassroots candidate.
It's just crazy.
She's been grassroots for 6 hours. I thought it was crazy when Schumer was like, well, the process has played out. Sir, it has been maybe 48 hours. This is your process?
Well, and that's the thing, too. It's like people are saying, Obama hasn't endorsed Kamala. All Obama has to do is endorse the process.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.